Owen is a lot cheaper. I think the Owen watercolor is the biggest threat to the superior watercolors. Hi there again everyone, this is again Alan and welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today in this video we are gonna be reviewing a watercolor set that has been very much requested in this channel. So without further ado, let's have the Owen watercolor cakes from China. I got this set at Shopee Philippines, particularly at the Lemon Space account for 387 Philippine pesos or roughly $8 for this 24 color set on November 2020. And the seller was just so nice to offer me a freebie set that is, I think, higher grade because the price is double. And I'm gonna be reviewing this next and I'm so excited. So to the Lemon Space account, thank you very much for this set and I really appreciate it. I really love the seller honestly because she's very accommodating and she has answered all my questions very well. And also her store offers lots of affordable watercolor items and art materials, and she has lots of Paul Rubens products that are, you know, high quality but cheap. If you are from the Philippines, please do visit her store, which I'll be linking at the description box. And if you're not from the Philippines, I'll try to find some links and stores that also sell this particular set and link it at the description box. So now let's open the box. And as you can see, it's still wrapped in plastic or cellophane. And for this, I've chosen to use my palette knife because I think this is safer. You know, this is just so satisfying to do. So I am, you know, saving my excitement for the video so that you'll also see the unboxing. I know it's just so relaxing to watch unboxing and you know, unwrapping videos. By the way, our palette inside is protected by this very attractive green paper box, and it says here Owen. It shows here the logo. It says here watercolor cakes, and we have here some Chinese characters. It says here bright colors, high transparency, easy to capture. I think that pertains to it being easy to activate. And here it says 24. And here it says apply to watercolor, wash drawings, hand account, illustrations. And we have the same information on this side, and at the back we also find here the logo, the company name. It says here O.Win watercolor cakes, and we have here some Chinese characters, and it says here Shanghai Owen Art Materials. I think this is the company that makes these watercolor paints like the Paul Rubens and the Pretty Excellent watercolors. I think yeah, I remember they're also from Shanghai Owen Art. And here you'll find the recycle logo, and it says here it conforms to ASTM D4236, and we have here a scan code. And when I scanned it earlier, it brought me to, you know, prompting me to install WeChat, so never mind. And here we have a preview of the 24 colors that are included in this set. So we have here the English name and probably the Chinese name, and also the number code. So I think we are ready to expose our palette. So here is our palette. It's also green and it's glittery. It looks glittery but it's smooth, and the logo and the brand name is like embossed here. It looks very fancy and attractive. So let's open. So here we have a 3-well mixing palette. We also have here a brochure or an information sheet, but it's in Chinese, so we cannot actually understand this. But it says here solid watercolor pigment. I think we have here some techniques, and on this side we have the same images that we found on the brochure of the Paul Rubens and the Pretty Excellent, and here are their colors. So we have here 36 colors and 24 colors, but I couldn't wait anymore. Let me get the brochure of the Pretty Excellent and the Paul Rubens. Let's just compare it very quickly. So I think it's almost the same, right? With the Pretty Excellent, yeah, just the same colors. So the 36 colors, yeah, they're the same. If you compare it side by side, and let's check the Paul Rubens. I think Paul Rubens has a different color selection because it has bigger color selection. Yeah, so I think the Owen watercolor cakes is, yeah, they're just the same with the Pretty Excellent, the same image. Later on we are gonna be testing these paints out and see if they're really just the same with the Pretty Excellent watercolors. So back to the Owen watercolor cakes, we have here a water brush, and here are the colors, and they're covered with these plastic sticker. So let's remove it first. And by the way, you might want to save this sheet because this is the basis of the color names and the sequence, because it can be very challenging to identify the colors by just looking at them, particularly the colors in this line, because they're very dark. They look like they're all black. So let's put this sheet here temporarily. So here are the colors. I think it's okay. Let's inspect. Let's inspect the tray. I want to examine how big the pans are. Oops. So they're just hanging from here, and I think I'm gonna be destroying it if I remove it entirely. So let's just get one to see. So here's the pan. It's not very deep, but it's wide. So let's compare this with the Paul Rubens half pans and the cakes from Pretty Excellent also. So here's the Paul Rubens, which is a half pan in size, and here is the Pretty Excellent, which is nearly a half pan in size, and this is the Owen watercolor cakes. The Owen watercolor cakes is moist, and I think I cannot extract the paints out to compare it very precisely, but in my estimate, I think this is a little bit more than a half pan. Yeah, not less than a half pan, maybe 1.2 times more than a half pan. So here's a close-up look. As you can see, the paints are semi-moist, so for me this is a good indication that they're less likely to be chalky. And at the back also they have a ring, so if you want to bring this in your plein air paintings, this will help you secure the palette in your hands. And it's also good to see that they have big mixing wells, because these match the big pans, and big pans and big wells are friendly to brushes, especially to brushes that are also big. So now for our sample painting and swatches, I'm gonna be using Arches 185 cold pressed cotton paper as always, and for the brush I'm gonna be using this time my Rembrandt portable brush, both for my flat brush and my round brush. I'm gonna be just switching it. So for this process I'm gonna be speeding it up to save time, and if you have any questions just comment it below and I'll be responding as soon as I can. So let's start. Wow, the color is just so vibrant and it activates really instantly. So now the first 6 colors are dry. I can say that they're transparent, they're very vibrant, and the paints actually remind me of both the Pretty Excellent watercolors and the Superior watercolors, but I think these are a lot easier to activate as compared to the Superior watercolors, but the vibrancy is just very much comparable. They're almost the same. So now I'm very happy to see that the ultramarine is real, because first it has granulation, so there's no doubt it's pigment based, and the color is just so deep and warm. Let's now proceed to our sample painting, and I'm gonna be speeding this up to save time, so if you have any questions, just feel free to comment it below. So now our sample painting is dry, we can now remove our tape. Now both our sample painting and swatches are finally dry, we can now have a closer look. Now let's check their color selection. So for this, they have 1 white, 3 yellows, 1 orange, 4 reds, 2 violets, 3 blues, 5 greens, 4 earth colors, and a black. The color selection is not bad, that can actually work, but of course I need to be a little bit more critical. So my comments, number 1 is they have 5 greens in a 24 color set, and I think that's quite a lot unless you paint lots of landscapes or botanical subjects. I think it would be better to have a turquoise color in this selection. So if I need to kick one color out, I think I will remove yellow green in exchange of having a turquoise blue. Some of you might remove white and black, but this is 24 color set, so I can accept black and white here. But yeah, I am okay with that already. When it comes to the vibrancy of the colors, I think they're very vibrant, they're very saturated. The colors are bright, and it reminds me of course, the Pretty Excellent, also from the same makers, and also the Superior watercolors. I will still need to check side by side if Superior is still the more vibrant paints, but I think they're pretty close. And this is also a lot cheaper as compared to the Superior watercolors, considering that they have, I think, more paints than a half pan. When it comes to the transparency, most of the colors are transparent, although still you can see some colors are semi-transparent, but I think still they fall on the more transparent side. The colors that are on the opaque side a bit here are of course yellowish brown, or obviously this is yellow ochre, the white, and also the lemon yellow. Those colors are usually semi-transparent or semi-opaque in any other brand, so that's acceptable, but overall the colors are very transparent. And also I've noticed that the phthalo blue and the Prussian blue are very comparable. They almost look very similar. Also the phthalo green and emerald are really close, because the phthalo green here is the phthalo green yellow shade and the emerald is the phthalo green blue shade. So that is just me being critical about the colors. Now when it comes to the rewettability, I think rewettability is the strength of this set. They rewet in a blink of an eye, so I was really happy about that. The colors mix really well. I have no problems about it, so that's a good thing. Now when it comes to the flow, it doesn't flow fast, but for me that's fine because I love helping my paints. It's not a major issue. I think the biggest question now here is that, are these paints light fast? They did not provide any pigment information or light fastness rating, so the only way for us to get answer is by doing our own light fastness test. If you are gonna be using this for professional use, I think it is safer to do your own light fastness test first, but if you're just using this for sketchbooks, for cards, then you're totally fine. These paints are really good. Now we have come to our favorite part, which is the comparison portion, and I'm telling you, please don't skip, please don't blink in this portion, because you are gonna get a lot from this comparison. So let's begin with the set of paints that are less performing, in my opinion, as compared to the Owen watercolor cakes. So let's begin with the Best Buy watercolors. I think it's very obvious. We also have the Symbolayon watercolors, the Dong-A Creative, the Sterling Arts watercolors, the Giorgione watercolor cakes, the Faber-Castell solid watercolors, Sakura Koi pocket-filled sketchbox, the Reeves watercolors in tubes, the Faber-Castell tubes, the Pebeo Studio watercolors, the Pentel watercolors fine, Maris watercolors in tubes, Maris watercolors half-pan set, the Magua Basics watercolors, the Art Ranger watercolors, the Lefranc and Bourgeois Louvre watercolors, the Prang watercolors 2019 and the Prang watercolors 2007. Yes, Owen watercolor cakes, which are a lot cheaper, is still better than Prang watercolors, and I think it's very obvious in this comparison. Please don't get mad at me, but that is my opinion, and I think you can also see it here visually. Now we have the Kuretake Gansai Tambi, the Pelikan watercolors, and the Simi Art solid watercolors 50s. At first, honestly, I was expecting the Owen watercolors to perform similarly with the Simi Art solid watercolors, which is really one of the cheapest watercolor sets out there, but still I am choosing Owen because the colors are more transparent. That's the main difference, and I think they're also easier to activate. Now let's go to the set of paints that are very much comparable as compared to the Owen watercolor cakes. So let's begin with the Simi Arts Arch watercolors. I think they're very comparable, but still, if I need to choose, I'm choosing Owen because it's cheaper. Now we have the Simi Art semi-dry watercolors. They're very comparable, but still I'll choose Owen because it's cheaper and I find the colors here a bit more vibrant. Now we have the Miyahime solid watercolors. The colors of Miyahime solid watercolors are a bit more vibrant. They're more pungy. The price of Miyahime solid watercolors is, I think, 3 or 4 times bigger, so I still choose Owen for that. Now we have the Superior watercolors, the brand that I think could rival the offer of Owen watercolor cakes. For the color range, of course, Superior is the one to beat, but of course the price of Owen is undeniably a lot better. It's far cheaper, and the performance, it's is not very far from superior. When it comes to the intensity of colors, the vibrancy, and the saturation, they're almost a match. I cannot actually decide. Imagine for around $8 or less than 400 Philippine pesos, you have 24 colors, 24 vibrant colors that are easy to activate and perform just like superior watercolors. Owen is a lot cheaper. I think the Owen watercolor is the biggest threat to the superior watercolors. Now we have the Pretty Excellent watercolors, which is theoretically, I think, just the same paints. Owen watercolors are a lot cheaper as compared to the Pretty Excellent. They're from the same company. They have the same brochure. They have the same, watercolor chart. I think the major difference, aside from the color names, is that the Owen watercolor cakes come in a plastic palette, while the Pretty Excellent comes in a metal tin, which is, higher when it comes to production cost. I will have to test them more to identify which is better, but for now, because of the price that is undeniably cheaper, I'd go with the Owen watercolor cakes. Now we have the Koh-i-Noor and the Linke Brilliant watercolors. These are exceptional paints because they're dye based. They're not strong when it comes to light fastness, but the vibrancy is hard to match even by the artist grade paints. So if you're gonna look at it visually, of course you're gonna be favoring the Koh-i-Noor, but of course I love traditional watercolors, so I'm choosing Owen watercolor cakes. Now we also have here the Kokuyo Kamlin watercolors. I was actually supposed to group these paints with the next group, but since it lacks the pigment codes, I am grouping it here, but I am choosing Kokuyo Kamlin. Of course, they're just so good as watercolor paints, and everything is better. If they had provided pigment codes, then there's no question anymore. Our final set is composed of paints that have provided pigment codes. So generally, I prefer these paints because they're giving me, a chance to identify which colors are strong when it comes to light fastness. But still, I will try my best to identify which set is better in each pair that I'm gonna be showing. So let's begin with the Grumbacher Academy. So they provided pigment code, but I think the Owen watercolor cakes are better. They're cleaner and they're more transparent. I think it's obvious here. So the only thing I like about the Grumbacher Academy is that they provided code, but everything is better with Owens. So I'm choosing Owen here. Now for the Winsor Newton China, I think they're close. The colors of Winsor Newton China are more credible when it comes to naming, but I think I can give this a draw. The only thing I like about the Winsor Newton China is that they provided the codes, but the colors of Owen still are better. Now when it comes to Sonnet, of course I'm choosing Sonnet. They're one of my favorites. Also with Winsor Newton Cutman, Van Gogh 20 new colors, Van Gogh 12 plus 3. Now we're starting with the artist grade paints. So obviously these is no contest anymore. We have the Lucas Aquarel 1862, the Prima Marketing Tropicals, the Maris Masters watercolors, the Paul Rubens watercolors. This is actually a close match. The only edge of the Paul Rubens watercolors is that they provided the pigment code. And also, they have here some real expensive pigments like the Cobalt Blue and the Cerulean Blue using PB36 and some cadmium colors PY35. So I think that sets the edge of Paul Rubens as one coming from the same company. Now we have the Mungyo Professional watercolors. Colors are very comparable, but they provided the code even though not all the colors or the pigments are strong. So yeah. Now we have the Blocks Extra Fine watercolors, the White Knights in full pans, the White Knights in tubes, the Isaro Extra Fine watercolors, the Utrecht Artist watercolors, the Rembrandt Luxury Pocket Box Set, the A. Galliani watercolors from Italy, the Winsor Newton Professional, the Holbein Botanical Art, and the Holbein Watercolors 30 color set, the Core Watercolors, the Mijello Pure Pigment Set 26 colors, the Mijello 36 color set, the Daniel Smith Extra Fine Stick, and the Daniel Smith Ultimate Mixing Set. I just forgot to put the pigment code, but they really have pigment codes. Now, if you are gonna ask me would I recommend the Owen watercolor cakes, my answer is a big yes. Okay, less than $8 or less than 400 Philippine pesos, you have 24 colors, 24 vibrant, transparent, and easy to use watercolor paints. What more can you ask for? If you are new in watercolors, if you would just like to try out watercolors, or if you are tight in budget, then these paints are really not gonna disappoint you. I'm telling you, I've tried them, I've tested them, and I'm super amazed. I'm satisfied with the performance considering the price is very competitive, it's very cheap, and I think this is the biggest threat to Superior and Simi Art, so you need to check these out. And it's from the makers of Paul Rubens, which is already an established company. And as I've said earlier, if you are intending to use these professionally, I would suggest you to do your own light fastness test first for you to be more confident. So again, thank you to the Lemon Space account for giving me the freebie set that we are gonna be reviewing next. I'm really excited to review these paints because the first set is already good. How much more this next set, which is, I think a higher grade. Anyway, I think we're done with the Owen watercolor cakes. So if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, please comment it below. I'd like to read them all. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do subscribe to show support to my channel. And please don't also forget to like and share this video. Again, thank you for watching and see you on the next video. Merry Christmas!